Yo, it's me, it's the SCOTT, and now we finished the Prom Night franchise with Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil. Now you may be wondering, wait a minute, it's a remake. I've already done that remake, it's in my playlist, it's the first one in the playlist, because that's the first one I did, because I had no other way to watch the other ones. But now I do, and so I'm finishing them. Okay, so we go from traditional 80s slasher film to a 80s ghost story horror film to a 80s ghost story spoof horror film to a 90s to a it's now 90 91 this came out, but 92, whatever, religious slasher film. You know, I feel like they could have just done, this could be like an anthology. Like the first one was a slasher unrelated to the second one. And while the third one had Marilyn Maloney in it, it wasn't the same Marilyn Maloney from the second one. And this one is another totally different one. And you had the remake, which is also different from the other ones. So, could be an anthology series, who knows. But, story tells of a crazed priest, Father Jonas, who in 1957 murders two prom goers before they can even have sex in the car. And I feel like the only reason they did this was to connect it to the other ones, because it takes place at Hamilton High, 1957. And they even show the little swoop they've shown in the last two of going over that sash. And then it cuts to this girl who came with someone else, but she's going to cheat on him with someone else. And they're going to do it in the car. And there's a line here that kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit, where they're smoking on school grounds. And they're like, well, what are they going to do? We don't go here anymore. Well, prom comes before graduation, not after. So technically, you do still go there. Plus, you are smoking on school grounds. Whether you go there or not, still not legal to do that in a school. So, they get killed by Father Jonas, and he gets stopped by another priest, and he ends up in a coma for 30 some years. 40 years now. 57, 30, 33 years. About that, yeah. 30, yeah. And 34 years, 91, I guess. But yeah, he wakes up and they have ministered. When they show him in 1991, he's got this ridiculous fake beard on and this long hair. And then they show him again. And I guess they shave him and they put his hair back. He doesn't look any older than he did in 1957. And yes, he's shown that he has the stigmata. He has some kind of otherworldly power. But it's just, no. I'm not against religious horror movies. You got some of the best ones out there with The Omen and The Exorcist. But this one, I don't get the priest part. Like, why? I get that sexual intercourse out of wedlock is technically a sin. But in this day and age, especially at this point, I don't think it really mattered. And so the story basically is around these two couples who go to a lake house thing and are eventually attacked by this priest. Now, why is it that you spell out these simple plots and we don't actually get this until the end of the film? It's one of those. The simple plot reads, two couples go on a after prom getaway, and are attacked by a psychotic priest. This happens within the last half hour, 45 minutes of the film, where most of it is building up exposition, showing us what happened in 1957, showing that this new guy is going to take care of Father Jonas, but he gets killed, and then okay, so I don't get this. Isn't suicide another sin? Maybe. Because Father Jonas kills this guy. And so the cardinal says to make it look like a suicide. In the eyes of God, that's not good, right? You could go to hell for that. Your soul goes to hell for suicide, right? Supposedly, I'm not up on all that, but supposedly, right? So why would a cardinal condone this to make it look like a suicide? I mean, in God's eyes, he's watching down and he's thinking, he knows what's going on. So, but still, why? It doesn't make any sense to me. So we finally get to the plot with 45 minutes to half hour left. First of all, I want to say that there are a few actors in here, a couple of them that made me pop up. There is an actress who has been in many things I've seen. Most notably, she was Sarah Beth in the Monster Blood episode of Goosebumps. She was on Degrassi as Fiona and Declan Coyne's mother, and she was the mother of Derek on Life with Derek. So I've seen her in those things. And obviously, she didn't want to do any nude scenes because, very obviously, to quote CinemaSins, obvious body double is obvious. They never show her from the head up when they do the nude scenes. Her face is covered, and when they finally show her walking away, you can tell it's a fucking wig. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. You can tell it's not her. Even when she's in the shower, you see her from the head up, and then when you see her, the tits, which are bigger than the actresses, by the way, and when you go from seeing those big tits, and then when she's in her, they show her neck, she's in her, top or whatever, and they're noticeably smaller than the previous when she was nude. I understand when you're nude, they kind of go out a little bit, but because they're pressed up against when you're wearing something else. But come on, I'm not stupid. Come on, it's very noticeable. And this is where the kills are supposed to come in, right? This guy is watching them. I'm like, where he kills that one guy, and then there's nothing until the last half hour of the film, basically. He kills the boyfriend's little brother, who is played by the same actor who was Are You Afraid of the Dark? He was John Angeli in The Tale of the Dream Girl, but more notably, Buffy fans will know him as Scott Hope. And he's in this. And he gets killed by the priest. And then he decides to sneak around the house and be a pervert. And then like I said, the friend goes to take a shower. Her name is Laura. Laura goes to take a shower. She comes back and she thinks her boyfriend is underneath the covers. But really, and then there's some pounding at the door. That's the boyfriend wanting to get in. He's got wine glasses in his mouth. Why he has 4 wine glasses, I don't know. But he's trying to get in, and it turns out the priest is underneath. But they finally get in the room after he goes and interrupts the other two having sex. And they get in there, she's gone. And then all of a sudden he thinks he finds her in the attic, but it's the priest who's wearing a wig. Turns around, you want to fuck me, big boy? I'm like, no. And then he kills the guy. And then he kills the other girl's boyfriend and stuck to the other one. There's a big thing with a fire. She sets the priest on fire. And then they do this thing at the end that's supposedly supposed to set up the sequel that never happened, where they think he's dead. He opens his eyes, and then she opens her eyes at the same time to make it look like something's passed on to her. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I don't understand what's going on. He's obviously got some kind of otherworldly power to him to withstand something, withstand being set on fire. This movie was generic. to be honest. Nothing happens until the 45-minute mark. Like, this guy is in a coma, and he gets out. He kills one priest, and then we just kind of see exposition and talking and boring stuff until the last 45 minutes to a half hour when something actually fucking happens. But this guy's just stalking around the house while these people are in there, and you think if they're, being promiscuous, which is against his code, he would do something before then. But no, this premise that you have presented us doesn't happen to the end of the fucking movie. You were made to believe this is going to be the whole movie. Like, if this happened nowadays, be like a Strangers type thing, where they're in the house and there's someone trying to get in. They could do that now and it would be good. Very poorly executed here. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10, because at least, it's something. And yes, I do think it's worse than the original. So, there's that. So, with that, I finished the Prom Night franchise. I'm going to do a ranking shortly after this video uploads. I'm going to record it and upload it then. But until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. See you in the next one.